Greetings all, I am Anime Otaku Drew, Andrew Simon Hubbard, and welcome to my first normal video for my channel. This video is going to be the first of my Simon Says videos, in which I'm going to talk about something that I find particularly interesting. And the topic this time is a theory about one of my favorite game series ever, The Legend of Zelda. Now, this theory has been flying around for quite a while, and all you guys watching this have probably heard it somewhere. I've seen at least 6 videos about it on YouTube, and I'm sure there's umpteen more. So, before you click off of this, I'm going to let you know I've really got this thought out, and I'm going to give some rather compelling information about it, and clarify a few mistakes that most, if not all, of the other people I've seen cover the theory have made. Now, before I get on with that, I do want to apologize for everyone who follows me on Twitter about the fact that I posted about a week and a half ago that I was going to have a new video up within a week about ideas for a TV show that I enjoy currently. Well, the general insanity of my life went even more insane than usual, and I slipped into a rather serious depression. Things just went bad, and that video, I didn't get the research done. I haven't even watched last week's episode of the show yet, so I'm not in a position to do that right now. It is an idea I would like to revisit, so I hope to come back to that eventually, but at present it's not something I'm able to do, so I sincerely apologize to everyone who was looking forward to it. So, that said, I'm going to get on with the subject matter for today's video. Today's video is Simon Says about The Legend of Zelda, the 4th Triforce. Now, before you roll your eyes and groan and click away, hear me out. Like I said, I've put together a fairly compelling case. The first point that I want to make is the design of the Triforce. Okay, yes, it's an old symbol, the 3 joined triangles making a larger triangle with a inverted triangle in the center of empty space. I believe it has something to do with Japanese mythology or something. I'm not certain on that. I could be wrong, so don't hold me to it, please. But in The Legend of Zelda, that's just empty space there. That's it. Now, why is that empty space there? Well, that brings me to my next point. The Hylian Shield. Now, any of you that have watched the other videos talking about the theory of the 4th Triforce, I'm sure have heard this point before. The Hylian Shield is a cornerstone item in the Legend of Zelda series. It is the best shield that Link can obtain, and has been I'm pretty sure since Ocarina of Time. Now, the thing is, yes, the design has changed over the years for the Hylian Shield. But, if you look at one particular version of it, it has the crest of the Hylian royal family with the standard Triforce emblem, but at the bottom of it, separate, there is another Triforce-like symbol of an inverted triangle. The same color as the Triforce, and I've never actually measured the dimensions, but it looks like it would fit into that empty space from the Triforce. So, what other evidence is there from the series to give any credence to the idea of a fourth Triforce? Well, look at things that have represented the Triforce throughout the series. A great example is the elements from the Minish Cap. Now, there are 4 elements. You've got earth, fire, water, and wind, the classical elements. Now, in addition to the elements, there's also Link when he is split into multiple versions. I mean, 4 Swords Adventures, kind of on the Minish Cap. Let's not talk about Triforce Heroes. That one's painful. That god-awful mess is canon, while Hyrule Warriors isn't. I would much rather have Hyrule Warriors as canon, but I digress. So, there are 4 lakes. 3 of them represent colors that correspond with the existing Triforce. Red, blue, green. The elements. Red, fire, blue, water, green, wind. Huh. Oh, wait a minute. There's one left there with both of them. It's purple. Interesting. But we'll come back to that. See, before I go on, there's one thing I absolutely have to cover. Something that has drove me apeshit with every video I've seen that covers this theory. As soon as they start talking about a 4th part of the Triforce, they suddenly start changing its name. The Quadraforce, I've heard. The Tetraforce, I've heard. No. No, 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 no. It has always been the Triforce. And before you start saying, oh, well, that's because it's always had 3 parts. No, it hasn't. The original Legend of Zelda for the NES. I'm going to put up a picture from the instruction manual. Now, the resolution of the picture, the best one I could find, but the resolution is not very good, so you may or may not be able to read it yourself. But this is from the instruction manual of the original Legend of Zelda. It's on page 3 of the manual, if you happen to still have yours. I do somewhere. No clue where. Otherwise, I would have taken a better picture of it for you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and read 2 relevant passages. The first 2 times that the Triforce is mentioned in the manual. One day, an evil army attacked this peaceful little kingdom and stole the Triforce of Power. This army was led by Ganon. Triforce of Power. Zelda, the princess of this kingdom, split up the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 fragments and hid them throughout the realm to save the last remaining Triforce from the clutches of the evil Ganon. Triforce of Wisdom. Now, I did not read the whole thing from the story section of the manual, pages 3 and 4, if you have access to the original Zelda's manual. I didn't read the whole thing, just 2 excerpts. So, without having read the whole thing, you can choose to believe me or not. But if you have access to it, or if you can find better pictures than I have, I challenge you to go read it for yourself. The original NES Legend of Zelda manual, pages 3 and 4. There is no mention of another part of the Triforce. The Triforce of Courage is not a thing. And the fact that when it talks about Zelda splitting the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 pieces and scattering it across the realm to keep Ganon from getting his hands on the last Triforce, that indicates that yes, there are only the 2. It wasn't called the Biforce, though. It was the Triforce. My thought is that the reason it's called the Triforce is because it is a triangular shaped item which basically has the power of a force of nature. I mean, the Triforce is able to grant the deepest desire of the bearer's heart. That sounds like a pretty strong force to me. Each part is called a Triforce. It is not the Triforce piece of power, or the Triforce piece of wisdom, or the Triforce piece of courage. It is the Triforce of power, Triforce of wisdom, Triforce of courage. Okay, yes, collectively they are also referred to in the singular as the Triforce, but each one is a Triforce in its own right, and the name, therefore, should not suddenly become Quadriforce or Tetraforce just because another piece exists. Anyways, with that covered, let's move on. So, as I've established the known parts of the Triforce, there is the Triforce of Power, there is the Triforce of Wisdom, and there is the Triforce of Courage, which was first introduced in Zelda 2. So, what is the 4th Triforce? How do we figure that out? Well, here I think we're going to have to step outside of The Legend of Zelda a little bit. Look at some other sources. You see, Zelda itself doesn't really give us anything to base what the fourth Triforce could be on. There are clues about who may or may not be the bearer of the fourth Triforce. But as far as what it is, we don't really have much to go on in universe. So, let's think outside the box a little bit and look at another fandom that I enjoy, DC Comics. Anyone familiar with DC Comics has probably heard of the Green Lantern. And from the Green Lantern, we get what is called the emotional spectrum. Now, the emotional spectrum has each of the colors of the rainbow, the 7 colors of the rainbow, representing an emotion. And there's also a lantern core for each of those emotions. Now, here's a diagram of the emotional spectrum with just the emotions that each color represents. Now, looking at that, the Triforce of Power is clearly representative of rage. It's red. And so much has been done in our world in the name of seeking power. So yeah, the association between rage and power, raging with your power, raging to get power, all of that, there's absolutely a correlation there. Now, the Triforce of Wisdom is always associated with blue. In the emotional spectrum, blue is the color of hope. Now, if you think about it, that absolutely makes sense. If you're wise, you'll understand that no matter what your situation, there is always the potential for things to improve, which will give you hope. God, I can't tell you how many times that was the only hope I had. I've hit rock bottom. The only place I can go from here is up. So, yes, wisdom begets hope. That fits. And then finally, there's the Triforce of Courage, which is commonly represented with green. Now, green in the emotional spectrum is willpower. Now, I'm going to paraphrase because I don't know the exact verbiage of the quote that I'm looking for, but it has been said something like, courage is not the absence of fear, but being able to act in the face of fear. In other words, yeah, you might be scared shitless, but you have the willpower to step up and act anyways. So, courage is willpower. Absolutely makes sense. Putting all of that together, we've got red on the emotional spectrum, rage, and red link, and the element of fire, equating to the Triforce of Power. Okay? That fits. Then we've got blue, hope on the emotional spectrum, blue link, and the element of water, equating to the Triforce of Wisdom. Also, very appropriate. With the Triforce of Power, fire. Absolutely. A very powerful force. And also representative of rage. Burning anger. Burning rage. Absolutely. So, it all fits. With the Triforce of Wisdom, hope and water, well, and wisdom. Well, anyone with wisdom, with true wisdom, will want that wisdom to flow freely. They're not going to hide it from people. True wisdom is being able to share your wisdom and being willing to share your wisdom. So that wisdom will flow just like water. And hope is the same way. Hope can be very infectious. If one person in a room has hope and acts properly with it, they can get everyone else in that room hopeful. It will flow to everyone else. And then there's the Triforce of Courage. Willpower. Green on the emotional spectrum. Green link. And the element of wind. Well, that works also. The wind isn't afraid to blow. It doesn't matter what's in its way. It'll just blow right on around it. So, wind is very appropriate for courage and willpower. So, now what could the fourth one be? Well, we've got purple link, and we've got the element of earth, which is also purple. Now, let's look at the emotional spectrum and find the color that best fits with that theme. And it looks like that emotion is going to be love. So, we get this. The question is, what is this Triforce called? I've seen one or two people label it the Triforce of Love, but I don't think so. That just somehow doesn't sit right with me. I mean, I guess it could work, but something just seems off about it. So what I'm thinking, what is love? In its purest form, love is devotion. Just like pure courage is willpower. Pure wisdom, hope. So, love is devotion. So my thought is that the fourth Triforce is the Triforce of Devotion. Okay, this video is running longer than I expected, so I'm going to split it right here. Now that I have given you all my thoughts on what the fourth Triforce is. Now, don't worry, you're not going to have to wait really long for the second part, because I'm going to put both of them up today. So, you'll be able to go on and watch the second part right after this. And that second part, I'm going to cover my thoughts on who bears the Triforce of Devotion. So, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead, give it a like. If you're interested to see what else I've got coming, go ahead and subscribe, ring that bell so you'll get the notifications when I put up new videos. And if you're interested, I will have links in the description about ways you can help me out. You can follow me on Twitter. I'll have that link down there. I'll have a link down there for my Patreon. There are definitely more worthy causes than me, but if you feel like you would be interested in helping me out, I won't turn it down. I would definitely give my deepest thanks. And I'll have a link to my YouGov down there, so you can help me out even if you don't have the money, or if you want to give your money to a better cause. All you got to do to help me through YouGov is use my private link and finish just 4 surveys. That'll give me points that I'll be able to use to cash in for prepaid cards, and I can use those to get stuff to improve my channel. So, also, of course, if you don't mind the surveys so much, you can go ahead and keep going with YouGov and earn some cards yourself. So, anyways, I want to thank you all for watching, and hope you'll click on over to the second part of this. Have a good one.